2, 3, 4.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Hauntological Society. We're in here where the magic happens. We're making that magic happen just for you. What's up? It's Eric, your ghost host person with the most. This is the Hauntological Society where we talk about Bigfoot, aliens, cryptids, all things paranormal, creepy, spooky, and nothing is too weird. And with me, as always, is my bedmate, mother of my child, the most beautiful woman ever, love of my life. I'm talking about
Wendy.
she's so enthused after that intro. What's up, Wendy? How you doing?
I'm doing.
Good. So we got a pretty good little episode planned for you today. We're going to be talking about some homegrown spooks, homegrown haunts. What you think about that?
Pretty interesting. Ready to get into it.
Right on. Right on. So today our subject is we're going to be talking about some ghost lights, ghost orbs, those magical lights that appear out of nowhere and nobody can figure out where the fuck they come from. We got a set of lights in our backyard called the Brown Mountain Lights. It's just that they're world famous, been on TV, books, anything you can imagine, and nobody knows what they are. So to kick us off, Wendy, I believe you got a couple little notes there of different lights around the world we could talk about.
I do.
What's it? Tell us about the Marfa lights.
Okay. Claims in the United States are Marfa Lights in Texas, seen near the town of Marfa. These orbs of light appear mysteriously on the horizon, moving and flickering without a clear source. They've been reported since the 19th century.
Now, the Marfa lights are the second most famous of the Brown Mountain lights, of course. They're probably the other ones you've probably heard of. What about the Michigan holding light?
A mysterious light near Waters Meet that appears in a valley and has inspired ghost stories. Through some claim it has more mundane explanation, like car headlights.
Yeah, see, people try to explain the Brown Mountain lights as car headlights, but that explanation doesn't really work because they've been around longer than cars have.
Well, there's no road there.
No, there's no road. They try to blame the railroads. They try to blame the roads. Nothing
Unless
there.
it was an old like wagon road, maybe.
Even I mean, we're talking about back when like in the natives, like when the Cherokee was running the land, there wasn't many wagons.
But it's still in the gorge, so
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, this one goes out to my buddy Chris. You heard on a podcast a couple weeks ago. Tell us about his hometown Arkansas lights.
The Gurdon Light, a glowing light seen floating along railroad tracks near Gurdon. It's often associated with the ghost of a railroad worker.
I've heard of lights like this before. We have one in North Carolina that we're going to mention
Could
here in a
be
minute.
his train light.
You know, back in the day, people who worked on the railway would hold up a lantern, and they would tell if they would let the engineer know if something was on the track, or if the track was open, or if it swung a certain way, he would have to like slam on his brakes.
So you mean these are people down on the ground?
Possibly.
Researching to make sure that the tracks are free for
the workers,
clear for the train to go by.
Yeah, they would stand along the railroad and like wave their lantern to let engineers know what was ahead. Okay, what's next?
We have Hornet Spooklight, Ozark by Spooklight, Missouri, Oklahoma border. Seen near the town of Hornet. These lights appear in a remote valley and have baffled viewers for over a century, so I'm kind of seeing a pattern.
Yep.
Here already.
Yep. These lights have been going on a long time. Longer than we longer than cars, longer than street lights, longer than anything. So, and there are a few like natural explanations, of course, but a lot of these like it's hard to give an explanation because of what they are, where they're located, and people have tried and tried and tried to give a true explanation of it, and they just never come up with something. So they truly are mysterious lights. All right, I think we're gonna take a little trip. Let's see where we end up in Canada.
St. Louis light, uh, Saskatchewan. It,
Saskatchewan,
there you go.
which is also home of Bigfoot. That's where Sasquatch comes from.
Makes sense. A mysterious light that appears along an abandoned rail line near the town of St. Louis, often attributed to a phantom train.
How cool would that be to see a ghost train?
Uh, pretty, pretty
There's lots of reports of like ghost trains that come through, and I've always wanted to see like a ghost train. 'Cause I think it's fascinating that a whole entire car or vehicle could manipulate itself into existence, like a ghostly figure going through.
through that.
All right, what's up?
Scandinavia. Now, I know I'm probably butchering these names, but yeah. The Hesteland Loch
Good enough.
in Norway, frequently sightings of unexplained light in the Estalen Valley. These are among the most scientifically studied mysterious lights in the world.
Right on.
Why are they the most studied?
Norway really leans into a lot of that. Well, number one, they lean more into the paranormal than we do here in the U.S. And two, they probably are trying to study it to see if it's related to Aurora Borealis.
Okay, like gases or
Yeah,
whatever. Okay,
yeah. After you read these, I'll kind of give like some explanations of what people think they are.
okay. Then we're in Australia, mate.
Good day, mate.
Men light. Outback regions, especially Queensland. These mysterious lights are seen at night and often described as glowing orbs that appear to follow travelers. Creepy. God.
As if Australia is not creepy enough, like out there with the most deadliest snakes in the world,
No shit.
all those creepy animals,
Scorpions.
scorpions, everything in Australia kills you, and now you got ghost lights that follow you.
Right.
It's no big deal. It's just the men. So not only do we have the Brown Mountain Lights here in North Carolina, but there is another set of lights down near Sanford, North Carolina, called the Sanford Railroad Ghost Light, also called, and
The Stanford Railroad
yes,
ghost light, also called the Light of Stanford.
yes,
The legend. According to local folklore, a train conductor was tragically decapitated in a crash along the tracks near Stanford. His ghost is said to roam the area swinging a lantern back and forth as he searches for his lost head. Damn. People have reported seeing a single light moving erratically along the tracks, often mistaken for a lantern being waved or swayed.
yep, that's what I'm talking about. People see the ghost conductor is still working, even though he was decapitated by a train.
Okay, so they just see the light. They don't see the decapitated figure swinging the light.
They do not.
Okay.
But some of the phenomenon related with this is they see a glowing or flickering light along the tracks, sometimes moving or hovering. Sightings mostly happen at night, which would make sense because it's a fucking light, and often appear to react to observers. And some say the light vanishes as it is approached. I've heard that before. Like if you try to go and engage it or go try to see the conductor, he'll disappear.
Well, I was going to say if it engages with you and you see a swinging light erratically, you would probably assume that someone's using a flashlight trying to get your attention.
Yeah, yeah. It would be kind of cool though to see like his actual spectral figure, like in his little conductor cap, his like little like coat. I picture like sort of like Tom Hanks for the Polar Express, swinging his little lantern.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have a friend that I grew up with, went to school with, and he used to live on Brown Mountain. and I knew that he had had some experiences, so I asked him if I could share some of his stories on the podcast. So he sent me a couple of those, and these are his stories. Shout out Sean. Thank you, buddy. This person says, I'd say it was around 1994 or 1995. My dad and I went for a ride in the fields on Upper Creek where we have we have to take care of some cattle. We had stopped the truck to open up the gate, and across the creek in the next field over, we could see sort of a twinkling, almost like mica twinkling in the sunlight. After a few seconds, it started getting brighter and brighter until it became a bright bluish white orb. Then it started rising slowly up above the field, going in what seemed to be a straight line up. And as it went up, it would start getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer until you thought it was about to go out. And then it would go to the full brightness again. It kept rising into the sky, repeating this until one point it just looked like a star in the sky. It continued to get bright and dim, and then bright and dim until it finally fizzled out. This was all within 100 to 150 yards away from me.
Hmm.
So that was one of his experiences. And the other one, he says, another time from the next farm up on Upper Creek, I saw three lights, the same bluish color in the beginning, but by the end they had turned red to orange and were just slightly dancing over the mountain. Me and another friend watched them for a good half an hour, and they were still going on when we moved.
So the changing of the light almost makes me think of maybe some type of natural gas.
I mean, there it could definitely be a natural phenomenon.
Meeting with, I mean, what, fog or, I mean, there's all kinds of different changing elements in that area.
So there's literally a phenomenon called bog lights that literally occur when basically what happens is when the bog starts to decay, the peat bog like breaks down, and there's some sort of chemical reaction that could cause a fluorescent light to occur. It's almost like when you go to the beach and when
Bioluminescent.
you stamp and it creates that little light.
Yes.
Now those do happen. That's true. And there's also this phenomenon called that's sort of a controversial thing, but it's called plasma lightning or ball lightning, where a ball of lightning will come down to the ground and sort of move along the earth as a ball of energy, creating arcs as it goes along until it fizzles out.
Mm.
But even though that's kind of talked about, I don't know 100% if it's truly accepted or if people just think it's sort of like a theory phenomenon.
Well, I mean, with all the pollution from companies and then natural gases, I wouldn't think it would be beyond the realm of impossible for that to happen.
Well, the one thing I could tell you about this podcast is that nothing is in the realm of impossible. um,
Have you ever personally saw the Brown Mountain Light?
yes, I have. I was actually getting ready to tell this story. So I was riding along. The Brown Mountain Lights are found along 181, right outside of Morganton.
Shout out.
Yeah, right outside of Morganton. There's like two places that you can kind of go see them from Morganton or Burke County. One is Wiseman's View, which is a little. You have to go down highway. What is that road?
181.
No. Yeah, but there's another. There's another like. Was it 10 that cuts across?
Yeah.
So it's like highway, like little road, North Carolina State Road 10 or something. You cut across and you go to this little overlook. You have to kind of walk into the woods, but they have like these stones set up so you can like look over the gorge and see like Brown Mountain to your left and see Table Rock and such. But and that's a really good place to view the lights. But also there's a pull off straight off 181 called the Brown Mountain Overlook, and you can go there and you could literally it's literally like you're facing straight at Brown Mountain. And a lot of people kind of go there because it's easier to get to than the other one. The other road you kind of have to drive like 30 minutes down the dirt road to get there. It's a little creepy at night, and once you get there, like I said, you got to walk through the woods. So it's a thing. But
Well, I mean, the little pull off is kind of creepy because I mean, there's absolutely no street lamps. There's no light whatsoever, and I mean, when you turn off your headlamps, I mean, you're in pitch black.
I'm glad you said that because that kind of brings up a point I was going to tell the story. So anyway, I was cruising down 181, and I was with a group of my friends, and I think we had been fishing. We'd either been fishing or swimming, but I'm pretty sure we'd gone fishing. And I know my friend Josh was with us, and my friend Freddie, and shout out Josh and Freddie. And we had pulled over onto the 181 overlook and was sitting there, and not gonna go back. And we were kind of chilling. And so I started looking. I was like, "What's that light right there?" And it looked like sort of like a ball had started to like climb over the mountain ridge and sort of like come from the backside to where we could see it. And then it kind of sat there for a minute, and I was like, "Is that a Brown Mountain light?" Because I'd never really seen one before. And everybody's like, "No, no, it can't be." But then it started moving along the ridge and would follow the shape of the mountain. It would go back and forth like that, and it would go back to the side opposite of the mountain, and then it would come back and kind of repeat the same thing over and over. But at one point, it shot up into the air and was kind of like hovering over the mountain, probably like to us, it looked like it was only about 20 or 30 feet, but it could have been 100 feet above the mountain, you know,
Right.
because you're kind of far away from the mountain. You know, it's hard to judge like how high it is.
Right. And you're
But
already high up a little bit anyway.
oh yeah, you definitely have some elevation. And so we sat there and probably watched it for like 45 minutes to an hour, and this thing just played on the ridge and kept going down and up, and we moved around. And so that was the first time I saw the Brown Mountain Lights. Have you seen the Brown Mountain Lights?
I have not. And it's not from lack of trying. I used to take the kids up there. We would go, and because I lived on 181 for 20 plus years. But we would go up there, pull over, and see it. They'd get out. It's really creepy, especially if there's like other cars there and you don't quite know their intentions.
No.
And at one point, I think there was some problems with like it being like a makeout point.
Right.
So I didn't want the boys getting out too far to be like snatched up by pervs or anything. But no, I probably made 15 to 20 purposeful trips there to check and see if look for them, and I've yet to see them.
Yeah, it's they are visible. They still happen today. Sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes you don't. It's just one of those things. I went up there a lot too before I saw them. I've always heard the rumor that the best time to go is in October and November. That the atmosphere is the best time to see it.
Okay.
I don't know why that is. I don't have a reason. It's just what I've always heard.
Probably
But
getting colder.
maybe. But there's also a YouTube channel of a guy who I guess he's part of like the Appalachian University. Um, he does research on the Brown Mountain Lights, and he has a 24/7 camera on Brown Mountain.
Oh,
And you can actually go on YouTube and watch and try to see the lights that way.
that's awesome.
I would actually like to go. We should take a couple trips up there and see if we can see them
Yeah,
again.
well, I was gonna say that. Maybe take Gabe up.
I would love to. Like, I mean, and the thing is, like, you got to really be patient and sit there for a few and go. But it's really cool too because you kind of get away from the city and you're away from all the lights and you can see the stars a little better. It's just fun to go up there. Yeah, it's dark as hell, but it's fun. However, I did have a strange experience that I want to share at this time.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so um, when my mom had her house in town, um, she, I think like me and some of my friends were trying to hang out at the house. We were being loud and stuff, and she told us that we couldn't stay there, or that we had to go somewhere else because we were being disruptive and drinking, even though we probably shouldn't have been. And so we ended up leaving and going up. I came up with the idea because I was always like, let's go to Brown Mountain. I always wanted to see them. So I came up with the idea for us to go up there. And we went up there and we started chilling and we were watching the lights and it kept getting later and later in the night. And I think finally about like 3 o'clock in the morning, we were tired, but my friend didn't want to drive back home. And I was like, well, that's cool. And, they were like, well, let's just hang out here for a little bit. I was like, okay. So we cut the car off. We kind of fell asleep. We'd wake up, turn the car back on. So we turned the heat on because I think it was in like March or whatever. And then we fell back asleep. And there was a guy who was parked in a transfer truck over in the corner of the pull off.
Mhm.
And I guess he had been going up 181. He pulled over for the night to rest.
Right.
And so we were on the far right hand corner. And at one point when we woke up to turn the car on, I swear I thought I saw that guy like walking around his truck. Or I figured he was like
Stretching his legs.
stretch his
whatever.
legs, checking his tires, because truckers always got to check their thing. Well, I didn't think anything about it, and I kind of fell back asleep. And I don't know how much time had passed, but I woke up again, and I swear to God, when I woke up, there was what looked like a Native American look in the window,
Hmm.
in full Native American gear, like dressed straight up like a Cherokee Indian. And he was like leaned over, looking straight in the window in the windshield at me. He had one feather turned down in his hair, and he had like a red a red shirt on with some beads on it. That's all I could see. And I was like, "What the fuck?" And then I kind of closed my eyes, and he disappeared. And that was I was like, "Well, that was fucking weird. I didn't even expect that to happen."
Right, right.
So that was my strange experience.
Well, you know what? Some of the lore is that it is Native Americans with torches traveling through the gorge. I guess I don't know if they're night hunting or they're moving from location to location.
They're searching for their fallen warriors.
Um, they say that it's like covered wagons
Hmm.
with lanterns. So I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah, I
I
never.
would love to see them. I would love to see them.
Well, then you heard it first here on this podcast. It's my mission to make sure we see those lights at some point. We got to see them, so we'll start taking some trips up there.
Do
Uh,
it to it.
yeah. Something else I was gonna say. Um, do you know anyone else who had like so? There was a film crew that come through one time, and National Geographic was doing a story on Brown Mountain. And when we were working at the restaurant together, they had come in there and was eating. And I remember like someone had told me what they were doing, and I went out there was like, "Hey, what's up? How's it going?" And so we started talking about Brown Mountain and everything. And they told me that they had filmed what looked like these lights were so bright on the side of the mountain, it illuminated half the mountain like it was a small city on the side of the mountain.
Oh wow.
But you got to understand, this mountain is barren. There's like really nothing on this mountain. Like there's no not really many houses. I mean, it's very wilderness. Like this mountain is still wild, and they were like freaking out because they were like, we caught something that we never expected. And later on, I watched the National Geographic episode. Sure enough, it was on there, and but they filmed it from Wiseman's View.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I've never went to Wiseman's View to watch them. It's always or to look for them. It's always been on the pull off of 181.
I've always wanted to see them from the Wiseman's View because Wiseman's View has such a cool view of the gorge. And like I think, can't you see Linville Falls from down there too? Like from Wiseman's View?
I'm not really.
I think you can. I mean, but you have really good view of all the mountains. You can see Short Off in the distance. Like I said, Table Rock. But you have a perfect view of like Brown Mountain. It's almost like you could throw a rock at Brown Mountain from there. It's so close. I would love to see the lights from there. See them, get like an up close personal experience of what they actually look like.
So now, did I know you watched a documentary
Hmm.
um by I think Greg and Dana
Yeah.
and they go up
Yes, they do.
to the Brown Mountain Light and discover a cave
Yep.
and think would you like to tell that?
So they discovered that there's a cave underneath, and they think that it's linked to the same cave system that follows all the way up and down the Appalachian Mountains from here to Kentucky. They have a theory that it follows the entire mountain chain. And
Wow.
yeah, and so if you haven't seen the documentary Hellier, I think you should watch it. It's definitely worth a watch. Greg and Dana Newkirk, if you don't know them, they're like modern day like Ed and the Ring Warren, but cooler without the rape. Uh, um,
Jesus.
sorry, did I say that? Um, but yeah, they are. Dana is a witch, a practicing witch. Greg is a believer of all things weird and strange. And they did a documentary on called Hellier, and the reason it's called Hellier because they went to a place in Kentucky called Hellier, Kentucky, and they were looking for the Kentucky goblins or the Hawkinsville goblins, and somehow they ended up at Brown Mountain first though, and they were going through the caves and looking for uh, something UFO related. They had said it was like a UFO base or something like that. And
An old UFO base.
yeah, and I've heard that before, and I've even heard stories of there being like uh top secret military bases up there.
Yeah, I've heard that rumor as well.
I went up there when I was in high school with some of my friends, and we um we saw what looked like a city that was lit up on the side of the mountain, and you could see like this giant like tan looking hangar, but I've never
Like
seen
a
it again.
military
It looked
bunker.
like a military bunker, like a hangar, like an airplane hangar,
Okay.
but it was up in the middle of the woods. It was really
Hmm.
strange. I could never figure out what the fuck it was, but people always told me that that was like where the secret base was.
Okay.
But yeah, so they go up there, and it was pretty kind of cool that that documentary started off at Brown Mountain. And they actually go back there a couple of times, and I think one of their guys, Connor, he goes up there to investigate by himself, and he gets chased by a helicopter at one point, like a black helicopter with no markings
Oh.
on it. But
So where was he at that he got chased off?
so he was
Had he like descended into the gorge,
well,
or
he was on Brown Mountain, I guess, moving up and down the mountain. For
okay?
whatever reason, they were over there. Like I said, they were looking for a cave system and stuff. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I can't remember the exact details. But it's definitely my suggestion to everybody is just go watch it. It's a great high strange documentary. Shout out Greg and Dana. Invite us to your podcast. Okay, so now that we've talked about these other lights, shared a little couple experiences, I got a little tale for you guys, as you guessed, about the Brown Mountain. So here's a little backstory, some history. Sit back, relax, and check it out. Um, Tonight, we're heading deep into the misty ridges of western North Carolina, to a place where the lights drift through the forest, glowing silently in the night, and no one can quite explain why. This is the strange tale of the Brown Mountain Lights. The story begins in the Blue Ridge Mountains, not far from the town of Morganton. Brown Mountain is an unassuming and tree-covered ridge nestled in the Pisgah National Forest. But when the sun goes down, things change. For more than a century, possibly much longer, people have reported seeing strange orbs of light hovering over the mountain. These glowing balls range in color from white to orange, blue, or red. Some say they float gently above the treetops. Others claim the lights dart through the air, rising and falling, vanishing suddenly without a trace. And the creepiest part, they make no sound. Locals say the phenomenon is as old as the mountain itself. According to Cherokee and Catawba legends, the lights are the spirits of the warriors who died in ancient battles. One version tells of a great war where many perished, and the lights are the souls of women searching for their lost husbands. Other tales say the lights are guides helping the spirits find their way to the afterlife. It's easy to write that off as folklore until you realize people are still seeing them today. The first printed account of the Brown Mountain Lights came in 1882 in a Morganton newspaper, probably the Herald. Back then, there were no cars driving through the mountains, no power lines, just wilderness. Not much different today.
Right, right.
In the early 1900s, reports began flooding in from railroad workers, farmers, and even tourists. The lights seem to appear most often in the fall, especially after heavy rains or humid nights. One of the best known view spots, even today, is called Wiseman's View, a rocky outcrop overlooking the Limble Gorge. By 1913, the sightings had gained so much attention that the U.S. Geological Survey got involved. They sent an engineer named George Mansfield to investigate. And after some time in the area, Mansfield concluded that the lights were nothing more than distant train lights reflecting in the valley. But a second investigation in 1922 blamed automobile lights, campfires, and mirages caused by thermal layers in the atmosphere. But it sounds reasonable, right? Except people had been seeing these lights long before cars or trains were even around. And many say the lights behave in ways no headlight fire could ever, rising vertically into the sky, splitting apart, or even disappearing midair. In the 1930s, the legend took on a life of its own. Folk musicians Wade Maynor and Zeke Morris recorded a haunting ballad called The Brown Mountain Light. The song tells the story of a slave who searched for his master in the mountains, and even in death, his lantern still burns in the darkness. That's terrible. Why the fuck is he looking for him?
Maybe that's all he knows.
That's horrible. As the decades passed, the Brown Mountain Lights worked their way into pop culture. They appeared on Unsolved Mysteries, The X-Files, and even inspired the 2014 sci-fi horror film Alien Abduction. And to this day, amateur ghost hunters, scientists, and curious tourists trek to Brown Mountain, hoping to catch a glimpse. Modern theories are just as varied as the stories. Some scientists believe the lights could be caused by uh, piezoelectric effects, that when stress on quartz-rich rocks, son of a bitch, that when stress on quartz-rich rocks deep underground releases electrical charges into the atmosphere. Others blame earthquake lights, a rare phenomenon tied to tectonic activity. Still, others suggest the lights are a form of ball lightning, a mysterious atmospheric plasma that science still doesn't fully understand. Of course, for every rational explanation, there's a paranormal one. Some say the mountain is a window area, a thin place where dimensions overlap, a kind of portal where energy leaks through. Others believe the lights are UFOs, part of the same phenomenon seen in places like Skinwalker Ranch or the Marfa Lights of Texas. Whatever the truth is, though, the Brown Mountain Lights remain elusive. They don't appear on command. Sometimes they don't appear for weeks. Other times they dance across the treetops as if performing an unseen audience. So what are they? Tricks of light, earth energy, something older and stranger? That's up to you to decide. If you ever find yourself in North Carolina, take a night drive to Wise's View or the 181 pull off. Bring a blanket, bring a flashlight, and if you're lucky, you might see the mountain come alive. Now, thanks for joining me on this journey into the unknown. And if you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps keep our little ghost hunting society alive. And until the next time, keep your lantern lit and your eyes on the ridgeline. So, that being said, what do you believe the lights are?
Well, listening to the claims or whatever, I don't think it can be headlights because there's no roads down there.
Yep.
That would make sense of why because they're not all high floating.
Mhm.
Some are very low to the treetops in the gorge.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a train because, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no train tracks down there. Are there?
They claim that they were headlights for trains. At one point, they said it was train tracks, but when something happened and the train tracks were shut down, and the lights still continued to happen. So even if they want to blame it on the trains aren't the true answer.
Has anyone ever found remnants of a train track down there?
There has to be train tracks somewhere because people are blaming it on trains.
Okay.
I would assume. But as far as I know, it doesn't go across the mountain though. So I don't know.
I would probably lean it more towards balls of gas
Yeah.
that burst and give off like small reflection, or, small flickers of light.
Hmm.
But I also like the lore. So I would like to think, well, I don't want to think anyone's down there looking for their loved one.
Yeah. It's such a romantic story that if you think about it, out there searching for the love of your life by the candlelight on the side of a mountain after a great war. I mean, it's a great, very romanticized story.
After a great war, though, I mean, you never know what you're going to, come up on.
Yeah.
So maybe moving from one area to the other,
Hmm.
yeah, that's what I'd like to think. But I guess I would have to see them before I could form a more conclusive decision of what I think they are.
Well, guess we know what our assignment is.
Sure do.
Find the Brown Mountain Lights.
Let's do it.
We will. I think it's fascinating watching that the guy on YouTube I told you about that had the 24/7. It's kind of fascinating when he has some pop up. The live feed's not always active, but you can look at like archives and stuff. I suggest everybody go in there and take a look at some of them. And I'm going to post a few of them on our Facebook page, the Honological Society, and you can see some for yourself. Uh, I don't know if this one was taken by time lapse photography, but it almost looks like it's you know how you see those like depictions of like ancient dragons how they kind of like when they swoop in the air, they sort of leave a tracer behind or whatever.
Yes.
It looks like it's like up above the ridge, and it's sort of like
Leaving a tail.
yeah, it sort of like whips around and leaves a little tracer like that. Another one I got um, has it looks like there's like a couple lights on the side of the mountain. One looks like maybe some floating. So there's some pictures and stuff that you can go out there and find. And I suggest everybody go check them out because they're actually really fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I've known of them since, I've been old enough to remember things. So it's definitely something I've always, wanted to see, or I would have, you know, not made many trips up there.
Right.
But maybe I just went to the wrong place.
No, no, you're in the right place. It's just one of those things that it's such a luck of the draw to go see it. I don't want to discourage people from going up there because I think people need to go experience this for themselves. But just know that if you go, you might have to go a couple times before you finally see them. Who knows? One day you might get lucky enough to see the Brown Mountain Lights yourself.
And fingers crossed.
We're gonna do it. That's my mission. We're gonna see the Brown Mountain Lights. Hopefully, we should be able to show Gabe the same thing because I think it'd be fascinating for him too.
Oh, it'll be fascinating for him, but I mean, he'd drive us crazy sitting in the car with no lights on.
I'm bored.
Yes. There's no Wi-Fi.
Wow. Um. Yeah. Do you think you got anything else to add to that?
I do not.
I think we hit it pretty good. Don't forget, we got our store merchandise. We got T-shirts, hoodies, stickers. There's even a couple coffee mugs over there. Go pick some up for you, your loved ones. You got a birthday, trying to just share something fun with a friend. Help us out because it helps the podcast out. Everything that you guys do can help us. Also, go rate and review us. The more 5-star reviews we get, the more people can listen to this podcast. Once again, it really helps us. The more viewers we get, the more that we can do. It helps this podcast grow. And I just want to give a shout out to everybody who follows us on Facebook because our Facebook is almost up to 200 people now.
Woo!
I know, right? And
Thanks, guys.
we've almost got just as many listens on Spotify. So that means everybody's listening to at least one episode, and we need you to listen to 4.
10.
Listen to them all. There's a whole catalog of great episodes there. Tell your friends because we need some more people listening. But everybody who's taking the time to join our Facebook, who still follows us on here, thank you. Turn your notifications on. You'll be able to find out when we drop new episodes. Usually once a week. Don't really have a proper schedule right now. Things are a little weird with school ending and me getting back to work. But I promise you, we'll get some new content out every week. So just stay tuned and hold on. I guess that's it. Oh yeah, we got an email. Send us an email, chronologicalsociety@gmail.com. We want all your stories. Give us every story you got. Like we could read your story on the podcast, just like the one who we read tonight. And that being said, I'm Eric.
I'm Wendy.
We're out.